Hi, and welcome to the celebration of Awakened Voices Issue 11, Legacy. Thank you all for joining us. We are glad you are with us. My name is Jerry. I'm the creative director here at Awakenings, and we are finally at publication day for issue 11, Legacy. I am so excited that all of us can gather and celebrate each writer and piece in this issue. My own ideas of what legacy looks like and its potential have grown through these writers' stories, poems, and visual art. I'm so grateful for their continued creation of legacy at Awakenings and Awaken Voices with us. Now, the first person I want to welcome tonight is Laura Kinter. Before Laura stepped into the role of executive director at Awakenings, she was the reader and the editor in tandem with our founder, Jean Cozier, for the early issues of Awaken Voices. It is an honor and joy for today's editing team to continue her legacy with Awaken Voices. Please help me welcome Awakenings Executive Director, Laura Kinter.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. And thank you, Jerry, for that lovely introduction. We've come so far since those early years. I would like to begin with a land acknowledgement. Awakening sits on the stolen land of the Sioux, Miami, Potawatomi, Kickapoo, and Peoria tribes. As settlers of this unceded territory, we as an organization want to name and respect its original inhabitants. We cannot continue our work to dismantle sexual violence as a weapon of systemic oppression without acknowledging the colonialism we have inherited. We welcome any audience members to share the land they sit on in the chat function.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you to everyone who is acknowledging the land they are sitting on tonight in our chat. Tonight, we will be talking about sexual violence, and that includes different ways people define this term and different views on how to be an ally, advocate, survivor, and other identifying terms. The way in which people choose to identify might not quite fit with how you choose to identify. And we all participate in making a space of listening, speaking, and celebrating tonight across time zones and distance. So thank you for being here with us. Now, let's celebrate. We are joined by 4 writers whose poems and visual art appear in issue 11, Legacy. And I think I see a few more of our writers in the audience attending out there in Zoom land tonight. Congratulations to each of you, and thank you for the honor and privilege of publishing your creative and wonderful work. There will be 3 folks introducing our writers this evening. And these 3 folks sat with me at the editing table over the past few months working on this issue. These folks have spent hours poring over submissions, reviewing our volunteer readers' reports on submissions, and discussing how and where each piece would go in this issue. This issue would absolutely not be the same without these people. These amazing humans are Megan Otto, Sal Gedkin, and Anya Garcia. Now, please join me in welcoming Megan, Literary Associate and Editor at Awaken Voices, to introduce our first writer.
Hi, everyone. I'm so grateful to be joining you all tonight and so excited to be celebrating the launch of this issue. Thea Matthews, the first writer we will hear from tonight, uses nature to bridge the violence of the past into the potential for healing in the future. Thea Matthews is a Brooklyn-based poet, activist, and educator of Afro-Indigenous Mexican heritage. Born and raised in San Francisco, California, Thea is the author of Unearth the Flowers from Red Light Lit, published in 2020. Lilac and Fuchsia, Thea's pieces published in this issue of Awaken Voices, are part of a series of floral poems. These 2 poems in the series feel like a legacy in themselves. In them, a story builds and the poems create a miniature mythos. Like flowers that open and unfurl, these poems bloom into a new understanding of what it means to heal, what it means to finally feel autonomous, and how it feels to trust and believe in oneself. Welcome, Thea.
I'm gonna start crying. Oh my gosh, Megan, that was a very beautiful intro, to the point where I almost want to see it on print and see it and hold it and read it on days when I don't feel so hot. Very, very grateful to be here among all of you. This is such important work, and I commend each and every one of you, your heart, your soul, your being, and it's an honor to still be here. So this first poem, Lilac, it's a poem, right? But a letter to my grandfather. my maternal grandfather. I don't know if in terms of content sensitivity warning, but there is enduring and moments of sexual violence, right? Okay, poems in Unearth. The flowers, lilac. Take your filthy hands off me. I said, take your scarred, wounded hands off me. Your weight has no power over my wobbly toddler knees. Your old construction hands, callous with generations of incest, beatings, children screaming, pulverized, my amethyst flowers. I remember choking on the size of your retired labor union tongue when my gums were getting ready to release their first set of baby teeth. I remember you stretching my legs after kindergarten graduation. I stopped liking school then. My tights stained a rite of passage to the first grade. I remember you spreading my legs at night when grandma went to take a long bath. Your oldest son pulled the same move, like father, like son, 2 years later. His gallant badge radiated from extinguishing fires. Your son, this firefighter, used his hands to burn the lips between my thighs, yet I survived. A field of lilacs, who run with the four directions. Great Spirit oversees this field. I clear out my throat each time I taste your mucoid saliva. I lose my appetite when I feel your fingers circling my soft areolas. I smudge my body with sage, sweetgrass, rose petals, transmuting your residual sweat into tears leading me into the ocean. I scream into waves. Yemaya holds me. The shoreline's salty foam releases my prayers. I dive deep, soar high. I unwind on the spine of a humpback whale. Her oscillating muffled words travel miles. Her cryptic tones swirl violet within my aura. I declare, you have no power over me. You have no power over me. You have no power over me. When dawn breaks, I rise in the direction of the east. I pick up shovel and seeds. I sow, I weep. I sow, I weep. I sow, I weep. For many moons, I renew an ethereal field of lilacs. Swallowtail butterflies rest on petals, pulsating purporeal shades. Leaves dance while oak trees wave their arms in celebration. At last, I return to where I first saw her, where I first see me as a little girl, and where I tell her, I love you. I've always loved you, and I never left you. I never will leave you. She roams in this field. She rests in power. All right, back. Fuchsia. Believe me, my cracked lips and stained tongue, a burning stomach and a no backbone bedroom did not deter the swift flight of endurance, the remembrance of sweetness, of survival. Hummingbirds came once I tasted my tears, yet sometimes I still close my eyes to the sun. I see the glaring red of my florid skin, swollen inside, irritated, infected from pesticides, the warmth of invasion of his cold fingers inside. I cry, growl, slice arteries with teeth. I wrestle with the treachery of men until I twirl prayers into beads of nectar, break the hex of hatred, ground the betrayal into fertile land. I grow from the whispers of shh, don't tell nobody, fingers over lips. Today, my mouth, like legs, rests wide open. Believe me, he knew someone would. Thank you so much, Awakenings. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Blessings.
Thank you, Thea. It's beautiful. I will say I also am just getting over a cold, but it is all emotion tonight. This is beautiful. Thank you. Our next person to introduce is actually either having technical difficulties or something going on. So unfortunately, Anya Garcia is not here to introduce our next writer. So I do have her remarks here. So I will read them for you, but we're really wishing that Anya was reading them. So Anya Garcia is a visual artist who's been working here with us at Awakenings over this past fall. She has helped with the editing of issue 11 and so many other things here. She is truly a wonderful artist. She writes here that she was surprised at how intense and sensitive the authors were that submitted their words this fall. She's really pleased to introduce Rachel Goodman tonight. Rachel will read a poem she wrote called "This Damage Is Not Your Destiny." Anya says here, "It is always hard to judge our own experiences. To begin with, what is memory in the face of darkness? Many times I have found myself recreating my inner voice, calling me from the other end of a tunnel decades away." Our next author tonight presents us with a detailed, intimate insight of her train of thoughts. I am grateful for her questions and shared feelings. And thank you, Anya, for sharing this with us. Again, we wish she was here to read it herself. So please now join me and Anya. And this generous testimony with us is Rachel Goodman.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Anya, for that, even though you're not here. But thank you, Jerry, for introducing me. My name is Rachel Goodman, and I feel very honored and grateful to be here today and to be able to read this poem to you all. I'm thankful to everyone at Awakened Voices, to the editors, directors, and programmers for being so kind and helpful during this process. I wrote this poem after getting sober this past year and not just remembering what happened to me at the age of 14, but also beginning to come to terms with it and find meaning through the pain. So this damage is not your destiny. Final Destination reverberated over my friend's television, playing over your caresses, no, aggressions, as she stayed entrenched in her own romantic endeavors, underneath a blanket, blissfully oblivious. I remained congealed to the couch, or lost in a foreign embrace I thought equated love, acceptance, gratitude. My hands quivering in my lap, pressed against my borrowed red Sophie shorts, a coveted article of clothing in my 8th grade class, a sign of the time, a mature and ready destination. Was it those shorts, my tanned, shaven chicken legs propped up on the couch? What if I'd been in PJs? No, you took me then too. 3 weeks later, neon green footy pajamas with printed cupcakes for your picking, a zipper for your zipping, flesh for your feeling. My virgin 14-year-old body spread on the couch, a buffet. I hadn't had my first kiss. You surely didn't kiss me, didn't look at me, just fumbled with buttons, cotton clothes covering your desired destination. My heightened anxiety. Is this normal? Yes. This is how I'm meant to perform, how I'm meant to be. Silent, willing, cooperative. A pair of breasts not yet big enough for a real bra. Twisted brown hair between my legs you make a face at, as though I should have anticipated your fingers making their way down and into my body. Your thumb brushed my bare skin. 1 minute frozen, the next, I flee the scene. A dramatic exit you took with a grin. I burrowed in my friend's bed, in another room, another stage, and texted her, I have a headache. This is where I am meant to be. An object in your show, designed for your pleasure when you may feel obliged. This is my final destination, my legacy. hidden under a pile of quilted comforters, unable to understand the weighted days of torment, pleasure, disorientation. Immobile, zipped lips, with the taste of bile and shame arising in the back of my throat. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, everyone. My name's Sal, and I will be introducing the next couple of artists. In both Alabaster and Corey, Donnie Winter ties the theme of legacy firmly to the ground through imagery of stone. His poem Alabaster brings forth stone's defiant strength and resiliency, while Corey presents us with images of the earth hollowed out. Donnie Winter is an LGBTQIA+ activist, YouTube blogger, and poet from Saginaw, Michigan. He currently teaches poetry at Delta College and has publications in Flypaper Lit and Sonder Midwest. His first full-length collection, Carbon Footprint, was released in September 2020 by Alien Buddha Press. We are very excited to welcome Donnie Winter to read some of his work.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored to be a part of this launch. So thank you, Awakenings, for believing in the selected poems that I'm about to perform and giving them a home. As mentioned before by that wonderful introduction by Sal, thank you very much. These two pieces are taken from my book, Carbon Footprint, which was published by Alien Buddha Press back in September. I still am just pinching myself over the fact that I managed to get this collection published. It is very significant to me. But as a survivor of sexual assault, it's my hope that both of these poems will share my experiences coming to terms with my trauma, but also illustrate the continuous nature of healing. This first poem is titled Quarry. The abandoned quarry sits, dissected for all it's worth, and splayed open, unsure of its unnatural nakedness. Trees strain to grow in jagged vacancies because hillsides have no choice but to wear these gouges like scars, unable to mend. It's a shorter poem. My next piece is titled Alabaster, and it was probably one of the most difficult poems that I've ever written, but it was one of those pivotal moments for me where I discovered that I was healing and that healing is a continuous thing for me. Alabaster. Dear artificial architect, listen to me. My voice resounds like 1,000 mounting whispers from a gypsum mouth. Look at me now. I'm Atlas, holding up a world of marble halls by choice. And your name has lost its luster, like the quarry you stole me from. Look at me now. I smile at your wasted effort because I'm not the misshapen sculpture you tried forcing me into. No, I'm a castle that stands horizon high. Listen to me, fraudulent sculptor. You're a rusted refinery. I'm not your alabaster bastard anymore because my body is a natural resource with an inexhaustible value. Thank you so much for listening to my pieces. If you're interested in reading more of my work, you can find my book, Carbon Footprint, on Amazon. Thank you so much.
In her docent response, Rougeau recalls the vivid and striking use of color in the painting Packaged Neat. The untitled poem, stitched onto delicate white fabric and draped over her shoulders, displays the feelings of vulnerability and being alienated from one's body. Rue received her BFA from SAIC with an emphasis in fiber art and arts administration. She then continued her passion in the nonprofit sector upon graduating from MSLCE at Northwestern University. Rue and I were also interns together at Awakenings this summer, and it brings me great joy to see some of her wonderful work again. I'm very excited to introduce Rougeau to share her untitled poem.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Sal. That was beautiful. Thank you for introducing me. And I'm so happy and honored to be here tonight to celebrate the launch of Awaken Voices with all of you. And I especially want to thank Abby and Jerry for this event and for inviting me. It's completely an humbling experience. I will be reading the text in the embroidered piece I made this summer for Awakening's permanent collection. I responded to the idea, the work I responded to is Monica's Packaged Meat. It's 2 paintings. I responded to the idea of alienation of oneself as a result of sexual violence and trauma in all forms. And the colors of the 2 paintings are the initial sources of my inspiration for this response. And with embroidery onto the skin-like fabric, I was able to create a ritualistic space that interact with my own body. And this process has brought me so much closer to the emotions and struggles behind Monica's work. And eventually I was able to walk away with a tangible reminiscence of my own internalized space. Pain is blue, blood is blue. My body is blue and violet in a backdrop that reflects reds onto me. I handed myself, for it is a vessel that carries the juice of others. Pain is violet, blood is violet. My body is blue with a hue of red that is called violet. In a mirror where I reconfigure me, and me. Each time it is a vessel that carries the truth that reads wrong. Pain is blue, blood is red. I put violet in my eye, in a song that I never sing, but I sing, I sang. Now I see a flower where violet dye color hangs on the tune that translates blue. Thank you.